Hi, and welcome to Talks with Shay. So today I would like to begin with reading from Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 21. And it says, Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So today, for part 2 of choices, I would like to talk to you about words. So when I'm talking about words, I'm talking about the words that we speak out of our mouths. Like the scripture we just read said, there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So what that tells me is, depending on what I say out of my mouth, I'm either going to speak life or death. When I look at my own life and I think about just how I speak upon my own self, I guess I would say I'm more of like a negative person speaking when it comes to myself. But it's something I'm working on. Because it's so easy for me to look at myself and judge myself and criticize myself and critique myself just because of the way life has happened to me. Things that have been done to me, people have said some hurtful things, and it almost made those things become reality in my life. So because of all of those things, what's happened is in my adult life, I'm like, well, those things must be true because this one did this and this did that and whatever. And so sometimes I'll find myself criticizing myself so hard. But one thing I'm thankful for is that I'm working on that, and God is allowing me to consciously be mindful of that and recognize when I am doing that so I can change that thought and change those words. Because we have a choice of the words that we say over our own lives and also over the lives of other people. You know, for us, it's always easy. Well, let me say for me, it's always easy for me, like I just said, to criticize myself. But it's harder for me to give myself a pat on the back. You know, we all have goals in life. Like you think about it, at the beginning of the year, some people do what's called like a vision board. You have a plan that you want to set out for yourself. And so you put it before you and you aim to reach those goals that year. But how many times do you all honestly can say that people do a vision board and it's all kind of negative stuff? It's never negative stuff. Why? Because they're speaking life unto their own lives and in their future. It's so easy for us sometimes to get sidetracked and say because things are going wrong to look at things always going to be like that. Like always looking at it in a negative sense. But what we need to work on is not always looking at it like that. Life happens to all of us, and it's not always fair, but it's life. God never told us that life would be fair, nor did he say it would be easy. But one thing that he did say is that he would never leave us nor forsake us. So one of the things that I can honestly say that I'm working on is instead of continuing to speak death upon my own life, I'm starting to speak life upon my own life. Because there is power of your words. Whatever you're going to say is what you're going to expect. If you're going to expect everything to always go wrong, then guess what's going to happen? Everything is more than likely going to keep going wrong because you keep speaking everything going wrong in your life. What would happen if we would start just speaking everything going right? You know? Yeah, Shalonda, that's not realistic because everything will always go right. Well, neither will everything always go wrong. So why not speak the positive things and we prepare ourselves if something happens to go wrong, but hope for those positive things to happen. We are so hard on our own selves. We are our worst critics, right? Because we're so hard on ourselves. We know what we're capable of doing and we know what we want. And so it's easy for us to get so distracted and want to say, well, I expected this to happen or I expected that to happen when it's negative. But when something positive happened, did you expect that to happen? You know, it seems like a lot of times when talking to people, listening to my own self, it's easy for me to say that. Like, I expected that to happen when everything goes wrong. But why don't we try to say, I expected that to happen when things go right? It will help change our perspective. You know, when I even think about it, I think about, I'm not going to say the person's name, but there's this certain person that I know that is always a positive person. And because I was not always as, I'm more positive now, but because I looked at things more in a negative sense, sometimes I used to feel like, is that person really a genuine person? Because truly, nobody can be that positive, right? But as I got to know the person, I started to realize they were genuine. And that's their personality. And that's what I need to be more like them. That positive person that always see the great things happening, always see the good in something happening, in spite of what they may be going through in their own personal life. And so it rubbed off on me, but it helped me to see, Shalonda, you can do the same thing. It's all about what you speak out of your mouth. There's power in our words. And so it's up to us to recognize that I can either continue to speak death in my life, or I can continue to speak life into my life. And guess what? Don't be selfish with it. Speak life into the lives of other people as well. God wants us to be more positive than negative. You know, if you think about people that's constantly negative, like we always call them a negative Nancy, and they're draining. That all they do is everything is always this. We need to work on that. But those people, even those negative Nancy people, they need us. We need to be more of an encourager to them. If they feel comfortable enough with being negative, we need to be confident enough about being positive. We're there to help other people. So the people that you see that may not be that positive, help them to see things in a more, that may not be, I said it right, that may not be that positive. Help them to see things in a more positive direction. Because we all need help sometimes, right? We need each other. So let's help each other. But we have to choose our words wisely. If we continue to speak death upon our lives, that's what we're expecting to happen. That's what's gonna happen. So let's start speaking life and allow life to take its best place in our lives, and things just start to blossom in our lives by the words that we're speaking over our lives. It's so easy to be negative, but it takes more to be positive. And guess what? It feels better to be positive, right? It's always like, if you're negative, it's almost like you're drained, and it's like all the energy is just sapped out of you. I can't be that person. I would like to think of myself as a 98% happy person 100% of the time, because I don't like being sad. Now, I have my little moments where I cry, and I'm okay. I cry when I'm happy, like I always say, and I'm crying when I'm sad. But for the most part, I like to think I'm a positive person. I try to see positive things. I try to be open-minded about other people's situations in their lives. Now, I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying I always do those things, but I'm trying to make a conscious effort of being more positive and speaking life into situations that look dead. You can do the same thing. You may have a friend that you could think of right now that is a negative person. Maybe God has you in their life to help them to change their perspective about life. Be the change for them. God may be using you to come into their lives to help them to speak life upon themselves, and not death. You know, a lot of times people see things always going wrong, but it's so hard for us to see everything that's truly going right. You know, we're in the month of Thanksgiving, and we have so much things we could be thankful for. But let's choose our words wisely and choose to speak life over our own lives and over the lives of other people. Nobody want to always be around negative people. Negative people hang around negative people. So we maybe even have to evaluate our little circle and see, am I surrounded by negative people? Then what is that saying about me? Or am I surrounded by positive people? Then what is that saying about me? And so we have to evaluate those things. And if we're around the negative people a lot, God, what are you trying to show me? What do I need to do to help them to change their perspective about themselves and their lives? You just never know. That could be your ministry, right? helping other people to see things in a positive way. Use your words and choose them wisely, even when we speak against other people. If you're constantly speaking negative things about people, why are you doing that? Speak life upon them as well. Stop focusing so much on the negative things that's going wrong and think of all the little things that's going right. Because I promise you, there's more good that's happening in your life than not. We take for granted those little things, like walking and talking and hearing, tasting, touching, seeing, speaking, smelling, everything that God gives us. Cars to drive, a house to live in, the list goes on. Let's not forget about those little things just because life throws a curveball in our lives. Think of it this way. We have more things going for us in a good way than a bad way. Truly, we do have it that way. Because we're still here, which means God is not finished with us yet. So choose your words wisely. Choose to speak life upon yourself and the life of other people. And God will do the rest. And stop expecting like everything to go wrong and start expecting everything to go right. Why not? Why not? God can do anything. He can change our minds and change the way that we see life. And let's practice speaking positive things upon ourselves. So, before I go, I just want to remind you, if you haven't already, check out my website at www.talkswithshay.org. You can subscribe to my videos on YouTube and find me on Facebook. Like my page, share my page. Invite your friends to like my page. And until next time with Talks with Shay, Shay is out. Y'all be blessed.